Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, Energized by Celsius. It is a Tuesday edition of the podcast, and during the regular season, we have off that day, but not this week. This is actually a very fun Tuesday, not that it normally isn't, because we were in the Buccaneers facility today. We spoke to not one, not two, but four Tampa Bay Buccaneers players today that we will all get into. My name is Matt Matera. Joined with me is none other than SR, Scott Reynolds himself. Scott, how are you doing today on this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic. Anytime you see Lavonte David, Tristan Wirfs, Keanu Neal, and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, it's a good day, especially when you're inside one Buccaneer place, a place that we haven't been to very often in the past 2 years. So it's good to be back inside the facility today at the Advent Health Training Center and to get four players to talk to us today and really not only drop some news, but also have some fun during the press conferences.
Yeah, it had a little bit of everything. I thought there was some seriousness to it. A lot of information from Lavonte David as well, too, which we will dive into. But Lavonte is, he's not a bad interviewer by any means, but he doesn't always give you the most information that you can kind of take and, come up with the story with, or give news that you would think that the reader and listener would really be interested in.
And you're right, yeah. And the thing is there's been so many comparisons to Derek Brooks and Lavonte David. Those are the two best linebackers in Bucs history, right? And Derek is number one and Lavonte is number two. And there's nothing wrong with being number two in this instance because Derek Brooks is a Hall of Famer and a legend. But both of those players, their playing styles very similar and their interview styles very similar. They're kind of to the, matter of fact, to the point. They're not going to give you a whole bunch in terms of newsworthiness. It can be a little general and homogenistic in that, type of way. But today, Lavonte David did have some news for us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I guess we'll start off with that right off the bat. A couple interesting things from Lavonte David. I think one was that, he was very bluntly honest with himself when asked about, what he wants to improve on and where he wants to get better, even being a veteran so late in the game, the NFL. And this is something you talked about a little bit during this season too, Scott, is that you want to see some more splash plays from Lavonte David. And Lavonte didn't specifically say that he wanted to make splash plays, but one of the key things that he's really focusing on for this season when he spoke with us was getting those tackles for loss. And in most cases, especially when it's a linebacker, it is a splash play, which is why Lavonte didn't say it, but I'm going to say it for him. Yeah. So I thought Lavonte being that bluntly honest so early in the year when, he's going to get more of these questions when training camp comes around, for him to give a real self-evaluation of, I could have been better, I thought was really big coming from him.
Yeah, it was. I just did a story posted to pewterreport.com about those quotes. And the interesting thing is when you look at Lavonte David, the first thing that jumps off the page when you look at last year for him is those lack of splash plays. Now, he did have a pair of sacks, right? He had 1.5 in 2020. He had 2 last year. And he did force 2 fumbles in the regular season, and he had a fumble recovery, added another key fumble recovery in that Rams game that helped get the Buccaneers back in it. But the two things that really jump out, statistically speaking, Matt, 97 tackles. That's only the second time that Lavonte David has not recorded 100 tackles or more in a season. He had 117 last year. In 2020. In 2019, 123. The year before that, 120. So 97. That's quite a bit of a fall off there. Then he also mentioned the tackles for loss. He's a downhill player, likes to make plays behind the line of scrimmage. Got a couple sacks, but only 5 tackles for loss, Matt. That is a career low for him. The fewest he's had in any season prior to that was just 8 in 2017. But he had 12 in the Bucs Super Bowl run in 2020. And this is a player in Lavonte David that has averaged 14 tackles for loss per season. So when you only get 5, you can see why Lavonte David is not happy with his level of play when it comes to those splash plays and really not playing up to his standards.
Right. And I think we've just become so accustomed to Lavonte being such a consistent player, the Rock of Gibraltar, the top guy on this team, that when he doesn't pretty much be Superman out there, I think it
Yeah.
becomes a little bit of surprise for everyone. Now, I think we have to understand too, one, Lavonte is getting a little bit older. I'm not saying that he's
31.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's a bad player by any
Right.
means. And also, he was hampered by a really bad injury last year,
Yes.
which he spoke about as well too. I want to get to that in a second, but first want to give a shout out to the super chat right here from Callum Shaw. Thank you so much for the 449 super chat. I guess
That's
what do they
pounds.
use? Pounds?
Right?
Yeah, what do they use? Pounds?
Yes.
He says, not a question, but another pat on the back for you guys. I've listened to the pod from year dot and love how it's growing. Love the grind. Callum. Thank you so much, Callum.
Absolutely.
Thank you to anyone for all the super chats. Let's get those likes up. And if you do super chat, we will make sure that we get to your question first and foremost. So thank you very much for that. Yeah, Rich, giving the thumbs up. But yeah, so the other part of the equation of Lavonte and what he spoke about as well, if I'm not mistaken, Lavonte pretty much said, he talked about his rehab and his recovery, and he said that he's about 60% of the way there.
Well, he was 60% in the playoffs when he returned.
Right. Right. That's what it was.
He missed 5 games last year, and that was the most he's ever missed in any season. If you remember, he sprained his ankle against the Miami Dolphins late in that game and then missed 2 games. It was the game at Philadelphia and then the home game against Chicago. Then he returned to the lineup, and then in that Saints game, everybody talks about Chris Godwin's injury, Mike Evans' hamstring injury. Leonard Fournette.
AB had an ankle, but yeah, it was really Lavonte David that it really killed a lot of things for the Bucs.
Exactly. In that Saints game, that was another injury. Lavonte David at the very end sprained his foot. And he said that was a very serious foot sprain. If you remember, he was placed on injured reserve to end the season. So he missed the last 3 games of the regular season, then came back for the playoffs. And, he's not going to miss the playoffs, right? And I quote, he said, no surgery, but it was a significant middle foot sprain, part of my Lis Frank. If it would have been torn completely, I probably would have had surgery and would have been out for 6 to 8 months. Luckily for me, it didn't get that far, but it was real significant. Throughout the playoffs, I was having a tough time too. I had to gut it out. It was the playoffs. I had to play. For the most part, I was probably about 60% out there playing, but now I'm up. And so that's one of those things that you see Lavonte David out there games.
Just put him in the Ring of Honor now. Just put him in the Ring of Honor now.
He's playing at 60% on a Lis Frank injury, which that's a very painful injury right in the middle of your foot. And if that, it's either a ligament or a tendon. I'm not sure, but if one of those tendons or ligaments is injured, that's one thing. But if it's torn, like he said, he's looking at 6 to 8 months worth of surgery. As it stands right now, Lavonte David is rehabbing that injury. Will probably miss the OTAs and minicamp. He said, I should be able to go around training camp. So the good news there is we're hopeful to see Lavonte David back out there making those splash plays as early as the start of training camp.
Yeah, let's remember patience is a virtue. So when Lavonte's not out there for OTAs, let's not all freak out. Let's not all make it
he knows what he's doing.
Such a big deal. Yeah, Lavonte's earned that right from the way that he played through that injury. And I think we noticed it too towards the end of the season. As you mentioned, he went on IR. He missed those last couple of games. Again, like that Jets game sticks out. And we actually talked to Robert Saleh about this recently where, they just kept running it down the Bucs' throats with Michael Carter before Michael Carter got hurt. And, if they didn't do that QB sneak at the end, the Bucs may not win that game. And, who knows what the fate of the team would be anyway. They still probably would have lost in the divisional round. But I think we always talk about how great the defensive line is and how Todd Bowles wants to stop the run there. Let's not forget, it starts and stops with Lavonte David, because Lavonte David cleans up all the big plays, even in a quote unquote down year. He cleans up the messes. He makes up for a lot of the mistakes that Devin White makes from time to time, especially in the run game. So I think I'm not gonna say it's the most important thing, but Lavonte getting 100% healthy, as he spoke about today, is one of the top priorities for this team, other than free agency right now. And speaking of free agency, Scott, on all these shows recently, every time you and I are on together, we get some breaking news, whether it's Shaq Mason getting traded, whether it's Keanu Neal signing, which we'll get to Keanu Neal in a second. So Bucs
Blaine
fans,
Gabbert coming back.
Blaine Gabbert coming back. So there's a chance.
Right.
Just saying that
We're on,
Two
folks.
could
It's
sign.
a Tuesday. It's Matt and SR. So there might be some news breaking. There was some news today. It was a little premature. Didn't exactly make the podcast. Yeah. But Pat O'Connor, special teams ace, and really the sixth guy on the depth chart at defensive line, mostly plays that Will Golston defensive end spot in Tampa Bay's 3-4 defense. He did re-sign today. So he had like a lot of Buccaneers, he missed the end of the season with an injury himself, had a knee injury, but he's back in the fold. Sticking with Lavonte David for a second here, and long lost leisure, Devin White took all the tackles for loss. That's why Lavonte's numbers were down. Check stats. Only 8 tackles for loss. Never mind. The interesting thing is one of the things that Lavonte talked about was Larry Foote being the new inside linebackers coach, replacing Mike Caldwell. And with Larry Foote, he was an inside linebacker in the 3-4 defense in Pittsburgh.
Called
and then
him
also
a natural.
That's
he was a natural there in the first place. That he was in their meetings half the time anyway. So Lavonte almost said like this isn't as much of a transition or a new approach than what we've seen, just because he's been in there all the time. But nonetheless, it's going to be Larry Foote's word now instead of Mike Caldwell. So I don't think there will be some of a difference there, and not just, oh, well, he's been here before, so not much is going to change.
The volume is going to get turned up. Larry Foote's a very energetic, edgy guy, whereas Mike Caldwell was more like cool and calm and collected. A different, same defense, same approach, but different delivery. And I just wonder, Lavonte, listen, he's a guy that can self-correct. I'm not saying he doesn't need coaching, but he doesn't need coaching, right? He knows what to do. He's one of the most cerebral
coach on the
players.
field almost.
Yeah. But with Devin White, I'm really interested to see how the message, how the delivery of Larry Foote that might be a little bit more in your face, a little bit more energetic, how that will play with Devin White, who is a very energetic person himself. I think that we could see some real positive dividends. I think that Larry Foote is going to resonate with Devin White better. Maybe that's just me wishful thinking, Matt, but sometimes when you've got two guys that are supercharged, right? It's like Wonder Twin powers activate, right? And all of a sudden, you get like a super Devin White. Maybe that's what happens with Larry Foote coming in the room this year and leading the way for Lavonte and Devin White.
Yeah, I think Larry Foote can really be a pickup for Devin White, almost like a I'll show you type of thing. Because, it's one thing when Devin White, he came off a Super Bowl run, getting a lot of accolades, a lot more attention. And, I could see Larry Foote coming in and just being like, hey, man, you're a great player, but you're not that great just yet. So I can see the two energies almost starting like a one-upsmanship. And I'm also interested to see how Larry Foote helps out in the development of KJ Britt and Grant Stewart. Like, do the Bucs feel confident enough in them to, trust them as their third and fourth backup linebackers? Because Kevin Minter is still not signed. It's not guaranteed that he will. So do they trust them enough to be the third and fourth linebackers? Will they draft another one this year, or will they go the veteran route and maybe even bring back Kevin Minter? I think that's definitely a possibility. That a lot of that is going to fall on how Larry Foote evaluates the team. And Scott, just one more thing is, you mentioned that Larry Foote's really going to energize this group and be a source of energy for these linebackers. And it sounds like Larry Foote must be drinking a lot of Celsius lately, or has been for his whole career, to now bring that energy to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
There's no doubt. I mean, we don't know that to be a fact, Matt, but it's almost like he might have Celsius in his veins, right?
Yeah.
It's probably blood, right? Because he's a human being, but it might be Celsius too. All I know, Matt, is today I grabbed a couple cans. They were on sale at my local convenience store. I've got plenty of Celsius at home, but I grabbed a couple cans of the Celsius sparkling cola. And, I love this flavor. It's great because sometimes I want to go for a change up. I love the fruity flavors. I love orange. I love Fuji apple pear, tropical vibe, peach vibe, grape. I love all of the different flavors Celsius has in the fruit realm. And they're coming up with new ones all the time. most recently strawberry lemonade. I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on a can.
I cannot wait to try that one. It's
But this
definitely
one
on
right
my
here,
radar.
folks, if you like cola drinks, we're not going to name any brand names, but there's big ones out there. The great thing about this particular flavor of Celsius is it tastes just like your favorite cola. It really does. But it has no sugar, right? There's no preservatives. It's the same type of formulation that you're going to find in any of the other Celsius flavors, but it has all that energy and no sugar crash because there's no sugar in it. So if you're looking for a change up, if you want to get away from the fruity flavors for a day or two and mix it up, I highly recommend cola. And you can find this at convenience stores, at health and nutrition stores, grocery stores. If you can't find them there, go on Amazon and you can order all of the Celsius flavors there. And you can do it with Subscribe and Save. It's where you have a case of Celsius shipped right to your house, or cases. Get a couple while you're at it. And you can save money and not have to worry about going out to find Celsius around your house or your workplace. They'll ship it right to you. So Celsius, you can find more information at Celsius.com and click on the store locator, or do us a favor and click on those Celsius banners on PewterReport.com.
Yes, please do. I am rocking the Celsius peach vibe today, sparkling white peach.
Yep.
It's
Great
moving
flavor.
up the ranks. I still think the orange is
a good change up.
overall number one. It's a good change up. Tropical vibe, the one you gave me when we were in West Palm Beach, that one I think might be my number 2 right now. The blueberry was up there for a while, but the number 2, or that was the number 2, moves down to number 3. Tropical vibe moves up to second. But nonetheless, as long as you're drinking Celsius, we're happy about it because there's a ton of different flavors that really there's something for everyone.
That's right.
So, as long as you're enjoying something, that's really what we care about the most.
Matt, we were enjoying talking with Lavonte David today. And just to kind of round out the Lavonte David portion of the press conference, one of the things he talked about and was very candid about was the fact that he was caught a little flat-footed, he and the Bucs defense, when it came to the Rams game with that zero blitz call, right? That was something that he was not thrilled about. And it wasn't so much the call, but how they played it. And with regards to the loss, because as I mentioned before, Lavonte David came up with one of those 4 takeaways that helped the Buccaneers get back in it. And he was pretty candid about his feelings about the Rams and that game. He said, and I quote, "It was tough. Obviously, I would have hoped they would have lost the Super Bowl. There's a lot of hating going on from my side, but you have to move on. Once football season was over and everything was done, no more football, I was able to calm down. I couldn't see it anymore. I was able to calm down and get back to work and build myself back to the point where I am right now." And then he goes in depth in talking about that play, that zero blitz call from Todd Bowles that ended up in a huge completion to Cooper Kupp, got the Rams in field goal position. They win the game 30-27, and all of a sudden the Bucs season comes to a crashing end. David says, and I quote, "There were a lot of moving parts. I wasn't expecting them to go no huddle at that moment, but it was one of those moments where you're trying to make sure everybody gets the call. Guys are running all over the place, and you're trying to make sure people are getting it. On those types of things, you have to make sure everybody is on the same page. There's a lot of communication aspects of that type of defense. Them hurrying up to hike the ball caught us off guard. I just kind of got caught standing, looking lost, but it was an unfortunate situation." And then David goes on to say that, I think Rick Stroud asked him about the fact that Tom Brady came back and he put unfinished business on some of those social media posts, and we all know how the Buccaneers season ended the year before, right? With the defense making the big plays in the Super Bowl, 31-9, keeping Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes out of the end zone, shutting down the Chiefs' offense. But would the way that the season ended with the defense out there giving up that big monster play, and even the play before to Cooper Kupp to set the Rams up for a first down and getting closer to field goal range, if that would be a big motivation for the Buccaneers, especially on defense heading into the 2022 season. And David says, and I quote, "It's big motivation, huge motivation, because I feel like we kind of got us back in the game. Then for us to end the game like that, that's not what we want to be remembered as. We have the majority of our guys coming back, so we're going to have to take another huge leap this year. that taste is definitely going to be in our mouth for a while. I believe we play them in the regular season. Not saying we're going to circle that game, but it's a game that is obviously going to be very important. Matt, you can better believe the Buccaneers are going to be circling that Rams game when the schedule comes out, whenever it is, week 1, week 17, whenever. That game is going to be circled. This team has lost to the Rams now 3 times in a row in the last 2 years.
That game is 1,000,000% going to get circled on the schedule. I don't care what Lavonte said. He knows he's circling that himself too. And in all honesty, I loved his answer too. Just the human element of like, man, I wanted them to lose the Super Bowl when I was watching that. Like, that's just the human. You beat me. Well, I hate you. I hope you lose next. That's just the human nature that literally every single sports fan has. So I appreciated that. I appreciated his blunt honesty about the last play and just that playoff game in general, because Lavonte is right. The defense got them back into the game by creating all those turnovers in the second half. Granted, they allowed all those points in the first half, so it was kind of on them to help them get back in the game. And as much as we love Todd Bowles' exotic defense and creativity and blitzing from left and right where no one knows and your head is almost spinning, as great as that can be, that does require a lot of communication and understanding of, okay, well, this guy's blitzing over here, so we got to keep these 2, cornerbacks or safeties back on the play. So I can totally see in the situation where the Rams were going, where they're moving up tempo and they snap the ball quick, I can totally understand why, more than any other play, that there was that miscommunication, because the Bucs are still going all in, and the Rams, even though Stafford was the best against the blitz last season, you can kind of see why there would be a mistake on that play. It hurts that it happened, but again, too, like you said, the Bucs won that Super Bowl against the Chiefs by playing dominant defense, and I think if the Bucs want to go back as great as Brady is going to be and everything like that, I do think the defense, without question, has to pull their own weight, because we saw what happened against the Rams in the playoffs, where sure Brady got him back, but part of that was on the defense for why they didn't advance.
You're exactly right. And we appreciate this $5 super chat from Tristan Wirfs. I need Brady to go off for 600 yards and 7 touchdowns in that Rams game. That would help, right? Thanks for the great content. As always, y'all, we appreciate that. When you look at that particular, game with the Rams, and, you go back and look at the week 3 game, right? And the Rams put up 34 points, right? So 34-24 was the margin of victory in week 3 in LA when the Buccaneers lost. And then you look at the playoff loss to LA, 30-27. And the Buccaneers offense just didn't do enough in either of those games. We talked about 30 being the magical number for the Buccaneers.
That's right.
When they get to 30 or more, they win. And so they didn't do their job. But anytime a defense, especially Todd Bowles' defense, when you're giving up 34 points and then 30 points, that's no good either. So it's like, it's on both sides of the ball. And we'll see when you look at the Rams and the Saints. Those are 2 teams now that just have the Bucs number. In the regular season, the Rams have beaten the Buccaneers twice. If you include the postseason, that's 3 times in a row. And I got to see some improvement from the Buccaneers. I don't think the Bucs can run the ball against the Rams very effectively. That was certainly not the case last season. They only rushed for 35 yards in week 3. I think Tom Brady was the leading rusher in that game, 51 yards in the playoff loss. Part of that was due to the fact that the Bucs were down so early, I think 24-3 at halftime. So it's not to take any other game lightly. I mean, this team lost to the Washington football team, the Commodores before they were the Commodores.
Yeah.
But
shout out Lionel Richie.
Yeah, of course. But the Rams and the Saints, right? Like, if you're going to win the NFC South, you're going to have to beat the Saints. They didn't do it last year, but I think the Saints are going to be trying to gear up again. And you got to beat the Rams. If you want to get the Super Bowl, like you got to beat the Rams. And they're going to be playing here in Tampa again. And that's just got to happen. It's somehow,
Right.
some way, they got to find a way to knock off the Rams.
Yeah, it's now or never because the Bucs got the benefit of the doubt last year a lot because you're the defending Super Bowl champion, so you earn that right to get some of the benefit of the
Yeah.
doubt. But yeah, again, they've lost to the Rams 3 times now in the last 2 years. They haven't played their best football against the Saints, losing to them the last 4 times in the regular
Todd
season.
Bowles did his job in that game, though. They just lost like all their star players aside from Tom Brady in that bloodbath in
no,
Bay.
Bowles definitely deserves credit for that. Again, though, like you're going up against Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian and those guys at quarterback. You weren't necessarily going up against Drew Brees, so I definitely do think there has to be adjustments there. And you talk about the run game. If we want to talk about certain offensive linemen, and we just said that the Bucs don't have, the Saints or the Rams number. We found out too that Tristan Wirfs doesn't have Tom Brady's number. I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from the press conference today. Tristan Wirfs is an absolute treat, by the way. This is our 3rd year with him. First year technically in the building, but he is as good as it gets. I mean, all-pro offensive tackle, fun-loving, good-natured guy who he gives great responses to everything. He's always happy. Yeah. He's always in a good mood. I understand why. I mean, he comes into the league, he wins a Super Bowl. His 2nd year, he's an all-pro player. And
hold on, Matt. He comes into the league at 325 pounds.
Yeah.
He told us today he's been playing at 345 pounds. Come on, this is crazy. 345? And the thing is Wirfs is built. I mean, he's got huge calves, huge thighs, huge arms, huge shoulders, huge chest. He's big and he distributes the weight all over. But 345? I mean, he looks like he's 325. But this guy is it's a massive man. I've already said he's the best offensive lineman in Tampa Bay history. And I'm not trying to throw shade on some of the legends like Paul Gruber and Tony Mayberry and the likes there. But I mean, this guy, if he stays healthy, his trajectory is one where he could legitimately be a Hall of Fame player if he keeps making Pro Bowls and All Pros.
Scott, I'm 100% with you. I mean, first of all, he was the 4th offensive tackle taken out of that draft, which I still find so hilarious that he was the 4th one when a lot of us had him as our number 1 tackle on the board. But he comes in his first game against the New Orleans Saints, who obviously we know have a great pass rush, did well against them. I mean, he's been an absolute rock there. No one can get by him. Only Khalil Mack has really given an issue to Tristan Wirfs. He's even better in his 2nd year. And
Cam Jordan, to be fair, Cam Jordan.
Okay, yeah.
Finally got him a couple times.
Cam Jordan got him once, and but I couldn't agree with you more. If he stays healthy, the trajectory he's on, he's going to go down as not just the best lineman in Bucs history, like one of the best offensive linemen. He's got all the traits. He's got the size. He moves quickly. He's back flipping in and out of pools and stuff like that, or whatever that viral video was. I think like every single thing he does, it just works. He makes it look easy. He puts in a ton of hard work. You see videos of him lifting and stuff like that. And he's not trying to do it for attention either. Let's make that clear and obvious. He's not doing it for attention. There just happens to be a camera on him at the time. But I thought he really gave some good insight today too. Like this spin.
Well, and Matt, we talked about the injuries, right? We talked about all the injuries that happened even to Lavonte David in that Saints game. The injury to Tristan Wirfs was huge. It was catastrophic because now you're going up against one of the best blitzing, best pass rushing teams in the league in the Los Angeles Rams, right? And he exits the Eagles playoff game with that sprained ankle early. And that just threw a huge wrench into the Bucs play. And then you got Josh Wells starting in place of Tristan Wirfs for that Rams game. And thankfully, Wirfs said today, he confirmed that he did not have to have ankle surgery. So he's just going to rest this offseason. My guess is very much like Lavonte David, he probably sits out OTAs. That's fine. He's an all-pro. Yeah. He doesn't need it, right? This team just signed Fred Johnson, and Josh Wells was re-signed. So I think both those guys are capable of filling in at right tackle during the flag football portion of the Bucs offseason. You don't need to have offensive linemen. You're not going to be blocking and really hitting during this time. So having Tristan Wirfs injured for that game, that's yet another catastrophic injury that contributed to that loss. Tristan Vorbeck again with the $5 super chat. Thank you very much. I believe if we are healthy this year, we get the #1 seed. Then we can beat these bleeping Rams at home in front of our fans for the NFC title. Ideal.
Yeah, I don't know. If both teams are fully healthy, I think it's one of those. If you play them 10 times, the Bucs win 5 times and the Rams win 5 times. I think granted, the Bucs haven't really played the Rams fully healthy. They didn't have AB. They didn't have AB in either game because obviously he left, and we know everything with that. And obviously, when you lose Tristan Wirfs, who, for all argument's sake, is your best offensive lineman, that's going to make an absolutely huge difference. But again, I think the Bucs really have to go out there and prove that they can beat the Rams, because they haven't yet in the Tom Brady era. The last time they won was when Jameis was quarterback.
You're right. And Tristan Wirfs is sitting there on the sidelines, right? This is the first game he missed ever in football.
Ever. Yeah. That's the first time ever that he was talking about that.
And you know that he's sitting out there going, I could be a difference maker, right? If I was, he didn't say it, but he didn't have to, because you could see it on his face. If he was out there playing, in his mind, the Bucs win that game, right? He's a competitor. That's what he's probably thinking.
Yeah, I think so. And again, I think it gets lost because he's always smiling and he's always having fun out there. This guy cares, and this guy will, run you over if he has to. Like, he's one of those guys. He's a nice guy. I know, Scott, you're not a huge fan of the nice guy. You want the Ndamukong Suhs that's gonna, mean mug you, and
I love the nice guys during press conferences because they have a lot to say. I like the nasty on the field, and that's Tristan Wirfs. He's both. You can be both.
100%. But I think too. Well, first of all, it's great that he said he's back to lifting. He's pretty much doing everything that he needs to do rehab wise. So thankfully, he avoided surgery. I think that's really important. And even outside of the surgery and his willingness to come back, it's been crazy for just Bucs and Bucs fans in general. But it's been wild for Tristan Wirfs, specifically for having to go through the rehab. And then you see, one of his closest friends and teammates, Alex Kappa, he leaves for free agency. He signs with the Bengals. Then Ali Marpet, like everyone on the offensive line left him. Thank goodness Ryan Jensen re-signed, or else it would have just been him and Donovan Smith. They would have been doing the Will Smith, looking around the house in the last episode of
who's left.
Of Fresh Prince. So I thought it was really cool to get his perspective on that, like how close he was with Alex Kappa, how happy he was for Ali Marpet that he finally got his moment in the sun.
Yeah.
He's
and
finally
to go out on his own terms.
Going out on his own terms, finally getting the accolades of the Super Bowl, the Pro Bowl, and everything like that. And then I thought it was cool too. Obviously, we asked him about Shaq Mason, getting ready to work with him, and he's like, yeah, we've already been in the gym together. I've been following it on Instagram since, I've been in high school. So it seems like he's very well versed with Shaq Mason. Yeah. And then on the other side,
I'm very excited to see Shaq Mason play next to Wirfs, because they're two completely different people. Now that we know that Tristan Wirfs is 345 pounds, are you kidding me? Now you've got little Shaq Mason. He's like 6 feet tall, 300 pounds, really undersized by today's standards. But nobody gets off the ball quicker, faster, more violent than Shaq Mason. I mean, we talk about Buccaneers, fire the cannons, right? I mean, Shaq Mason is a cannonball.
Fire the lineman.
Yeah, it's when you watch him get off the ball, because he's so small, he has to fire the first blow, and he does that, and he's fun to watch. I've loved watching Shaq Mason since he was at Georgia Tech when he's an All-American. I've loved his game. I was thrilled to death the Buccaneers have traded for him. Talked to Mike Reese, covered the Patriots. We saw him down there at the NFL owners meeting in West Palm. And what did he say? He's like, you guys are going to love Shaq Mason. This guy, the player, the person, you're going to love him.
Yeah, absolutely right. You're going to enjoy him and see how he fares. I mean, a lot of people are saying, we've said it too, that we think Shaq Mason is an upgrade over Alex Kappa. So again, to get a 5th round pick and get him for money wise a lower value than what Kappa was able to sign with Cincinnati, I think is a huge win. And
Tristan Wirfs even talked about the 3 main guys.
Yes, that's what I want to get to next.
Yeah, we're talking about Robert Hainsey, the 3rd round pick from a year ago. Aaron Stinney, who played right guard in place of Alex Kappa during that 2020 playoff run and Super Bowl run. And then Nick Leverett, who saw a little bit of playing time, was really one of the camp guys that stood out to us, and here a roster spot.
Yeah, and Wirfs said, of course, in like typical Tristan fashion, he's like, those are my guys. This is going to be so cool. They're my dogs. Like that whole thing. I love these guys. It's going to be so much fun. And he said they're going to help me as much as I help them. So I think the most important thing to take away from that is that, yes, it's going to be a competition and it's going to be fierce and only one guy can win the job. But it just sounds like even before any of this went down, even with Ali retiring and Kappa leaving, it just seems like maybe more than any other positional group on this Bucs team, the roster, the offensive line, they just seem like they're all on the same page. The continuity is there, whether those guys are retiring or signing somewhere else or not. Like very close knit. Seems like they do a lot of things together. They work hand in hand. And so there's going to be that friendly, there's going to be that rivalry, of course. Everyone wants to be a starter in this league, but I don't think it's going to hurt the continuity overall, whether Stinney wins, whether Hainsey wins, or even Nick Leverett. So I just think the offensive line overall, it obviously hurts losing a guy like Ali Marpet. But I think if you look at the entire outlook of this team, the Bucs can survive. They could maybe even be better depending on what they get from Shaq Mason. And I just think that the line is still very much in a good spot. And at the end of the day, Tom Brady's going to make you a better offensive line, especially pass blocking, because he's going to get rid of the ball quick. So I'm very optimistic on the line going into this year.
Speaking of getting rid of the ball quickly and the offensive line, I don't know if you know this, Pewter people, but Pin Chasers is one of the places that the linemen love to go bowl. Donovan Smith is one of the best bowlers on the Bucs, and every once in a while they'll do some team events, some fundraising endeavors at Pin Chasers. And Matt, it's a perfect place for that, is it not? For corporate team building, for fundraisers. We've had some Pewter Report bowling events there, in addition to our bowling leagues. We're going to have some more this summer. But tell people about Pin Chasers, that experience, and it's more than just bowling.
It is more than just bowling. It's more than just a night out with your friends. First of all, Donovan Smith absolutely is a great bowler. You should, if you ever get the chance, go and watch him bowl, because he really is great at that. But yeah, you can have great business events there. You can have birthday parties. If you got young kids, have a birthday party there. They got a game area with all the fun different things that you can go when you play there. They have great deals every single night. I just saw they tweeted this earlier today on their social media account that they're actually combining the pizza night and the all-you-can bowl tonight. So for the same price, you could eat, you could stuff your face with pizza and keep bowling nonstop until you can't bowl and eat pizza no more. And the food is very underrated. It's very good pizza. Yeah. They'll send it right to you. You don't even have to get up. The waiters and waitresses bring it right to your table, the lane that you're bowling at. So make sure you go to pinchasers.net. They got multiple different locations. You can see it on the screen here. Their owner is a huge Bucs fan who has season tickets, who has seen Donovan Smith bowl. Yeah, love Anthony. He is awesome. So make sure you go to pinchasers.net to book your lane and future event, whether that's birthday, business, whatever it is. You got to go to Pin Chasers for it.
Totally agree. It's fantastic. And we'll be doing a summer event at Pin Chasers, probably that Midtown location that's close to the team headquarters. Try to get either former player, current player out there and tie it to a charity. We've done those things with Mark Cook in the past. He's been instrumental in getting those events set up for us. And quite honestly, with Mark's passing combined with COVID, we really haven't had the opportunity to do that, but we're looking forward to doing that again. So stay tuned for that. And hey, listen, there's never a better time to bowl, Matt, than in the summer when it's blazing hot out in those air-conditioned lanes too. So stay tuned to that. So we had a chance to speak with Lavonte David and Tristan Wirfs. A couple of guys on the defensive side of the ball remain. Let's talk about Keanu Neal, because this was a really interesting guy. Very excited to be back in his home state of Florida.
Yeah, he said it felt like he's at home. Obviously, he played. He was a Gator. He grew up, I believe, he said, in Webster, which isn't crazy far from Tampa. So he considers like the Tampa Bay area home. He's obviously familiar with playing here, going back to his playing days with the Falcons. But I thought there was a lot of great things to pick up from what he said as well, too. For me, there was two things, but I'll just say one and I'll let you comment on the other, where he spoke about what position he's going to play. But the thing that I took most when he was talking about coming here is the way that Todd Bowles recruited him, or the reason that he came to Tampa is because he called Todd Bowles a mastermind.
Yeah,
and I think that goes into everything. Yeah, he said it at least twice, that Todd Bowles is a mastermind, and he can't wait to see what Todd Bowles will cook up. I mean, we all know, and we've been talking about it, that Todd Bowles, he was a defensive back. He played safety. He loves the safety position. He loves drawing things up. So, I mean, it's a dream come true if you're a free agent safety and Todd Bowles wants you, because you know that you're going to get the best out of Todd Bowles. So I thought it was really cool.
Safety. Todd Bowles was a safety for the Washington Redskins.
Super Bowl champ.
Super Bowl, yeah. So, I think that having a quarterback whisperer like Bruce Arians was instrumental in getting a player like Tom Brady, right? I mean, that with his offense and the weapons that Jason Light had put in place through the draft, guys like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, et cetera, that attracted Tom Brady here. But now you flip the page and you have a defensive-minded coach, and the Buccaneers, every single time they've had some of their heydays. In 1979, it was John McKay and that defense, right? It was Leroy Selman and the Buccaneer Bruce crew, right, back in the 79 season. Then you had the Dungy defense of Monty Kiffin and the Hall of Famers that came from there. Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks, John Lynch, hopefully Rondé Barber's next, Simeon Rice, right? 1999, 2002. And then you've had the Todd Bowles defense, which was a great compliment to Brady and the Bucs offense in winning the Super Bowl. So this is a town that historically has been built on defense.
That's right.
And you still have Byron Leftwich, still have Tom Brady for another year. You can kind of pencil in 30 points per game or close to it, maybe a little bit more. But I think as long as Tampa Bay has Todd Bowles here, this defense is going to be good. And as much as you do need to score points, you got to be able to stop the other team too, right? I mean, I think a lot of people expected a shootout when it was Kansas City and Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, but Todd Bowles made sure it wasn't.
It was a shootout for one team.
That's right.
And
the other team was firing blanks.
Yeah. And of course, we talked about the Super Bowl a lot, but I think one of the most important things that we learned from that game is that Todd Bowles is willing to adjust and he understands his team. Again, you go back to that Super Bowl and the Bucs are very blitz. But that game, they said, no, we have an advantage against the Chiefs offensive tackles because both of their guys were out.
Yep.
Cover two, we're just going to send Shaq, who had no less than 100 pressures on the quarterback. JPP had a great pass rushing game as well.
Dominican Sue had a sack and a half.
Cam Gill, half a sack.
Right.
The thrill, Cam Gill. But anyway, my point being that he took something that the Bucs don't normally do, and he implemented it perfectly for that Super Bowl.
Right.
And maybe it didn't work 100%, last season. And again, every team gets injured, so I don't know how much you want to make an excuse.
But there were so many injuries at the cornerback position and the secondary especially.
And again, like SMB gets hurt, the second play of the game or like in the first quarter?
Quarter,
Yeah, of the first game
week
of the
one,
season.
yeah.
That changes a lot of things. So I think if we get back to a healthier team this season, we're going to see an even better Todd Bowles. Because again, he's at the helm now. He doesn't, he doesn't have to answer to anyone. He's the head coach. You make all of the calls where as close as he is with Bruce, I'm sure there's a time or two where Bruce doesn't sugarcoat things and he'll yell at you, whether he's known you for 30 years or if it's your first year on the team. So now I think Todd getting just that free run to pretty much call what he wants to call can only help this defense and bring in players as well.
Yeah, I agree. And that's kind of my point is Keanu Neal was recruited to play and Todd Bowles is going to be here for a while, and he's going to make sure that there's no fall off in this defense, right? And they've got some pieces this year, some stopgap players, veterans like Logan Ryan, like Keanu Neal stepping in, and Lavonte David was really happy about that, right? Because
yes, he was.
He'd love to have both Ndamukong Suh and Jason Pierre-Paul back. I think Sue's going to return. I'm not sure about Jason Pierre-Paul. I don't think that's going to happen, but he likes having more veterans, guys that have been there and done that. You look at Logan Ryan, who's won 2 Super Bowls in New England, been a team captain on several stops.
Yep.
And then Keanu Neal, who comes in and he played a little out of position last year. He tried to play linebacker. That's a position that quite frankly the Cowboys wanted and needed him to play. So he bulked up to about 226 pounds. Now he's back to closer to 220, and that's where he's going to play. And he did say he's going to be playing strong safety, and he's going to be taking on that Jordan Whitehead physical in the box type of role. And he can also play some free. He's got some ball skills, but he's basically known for his physicality. That's what Keanu Neal, when he was asked about that today, he had a big smile on his face. He's like, "Yeah, my physicality."
He didn't even know how to answer it because he got asked about the hit that he had on Mike Evans in the Thursday night game. And he kind of like smiled, smirked, like almost felt like uncomfortable about it. He was like, "Yeah, like what do you want me to say?" You know, I lit him up on that play. But yeah, that was the second biggest piece of information. Really, is that. All right, he's coming in. He's playing safety. They're not going to try to. Sure, he'll be up at the line of scrimmage, and as you said, like his physicality is very important to this team and everything. And not exactly it's a 1-for-1 trade of replacing Jordan Whitehead with Keanu Neal, but sure, there's some similarities in terms of the physicality and everything. But I think it's important too that they're kind of establishing he's going to play safety. He can be a physical guy. But linebacker just didn't work out. He's going to be lighter now, which I think is important. And overall, I think it's a good thing for Keanu.
And when he's healthy, he had 3 100 tackle seasons in Atlanta, right? This is a guy that I think when we talk about the recruitment of Todd Bowles, he's like, "You're a box guy, that's fine. Oh, we're going to blitz you too, right? You're going to be part of our blitz packages." And so I think that's something that is very appealing to a guy like Keanu Neal, who likes to play downhill. And he's a bigger body than Jordan Whitehead. Jordan Whitehead was a rocked up physical specimen, right? I mean, he did not skip arm day in the weight room. He maxed out his smallest frame. But this is a player it's probably 20, 25 pounds heavier than Jordan Whitehead, and is really going to be bringing the boom. And again, if this guy can stay healthy, and you still have Mike Edwards, right? You still have Antoine Winfield, who's going to be the starter, the Pro Bowl starter. So Mike Edwards still going to find a role on this defense, maybe splitting some time with Winfield, maybe splitting some time with Neal. And maybe this team drafts a safety too, right, to throw into the mix, because you only have Neal signed for this year. Edwards is in a contract year. You
look at Ryan 1 year.
Exactly. You look at the longevity, and it's really Antoine Winfield and nobody else in terms of the safeties being here signed past this season.
Yeah, and I think this is a huge year for Neal too. Like he's still got something to prove in terms of the injury history that we just talked about, and playing in Dallas and moving to a different position wasn't ideal. It wasn't as expected as he wanted to be, or as good as he wanted to be, really. So this is a huge opportunity for him to make not that, he's a nobody, but to put his name in an upper tier, in an upper echelon.
Kind of reestablish himself. Because when you look at his career, he was a Pro Bowler in his second season in Atlanta. And this is a first-round pick out of the University of Florida. Had a bright future. Then all of a sudden really missed two back-to-back seasons with injuries. And then played 1 year in Atlanta, then followed Dan Quinn to Dallas and tried to play linebacker, and now he's back playing strong safety. And he's happy, and Todd Bowles is happy, and the Bucs are happy. Everyone's happy, Matt. Everyone was happy today. Even Joe Tryon-Shoyinka was happy today, although I've never seen Joe Tryon-Shoyinka not be happy. This is a guy that always has a smile on his face. He's like the defensive version of Tristan Wirfs, former first-round pick, always happy, always smiling. If there was a reason for Joe Tryon-Shoyinka to not be happy last year, it's because he missed out on as many sacks as he ended up getting. And I think that he's going to be more focused and coming into this year, trying to work on his technique, hand placement, things like that will allow him to get to the quarterback more often. But he seemed pretty fired up about his opportunity to step in. He's penciled in as the starter right now. Jason Pierre-Paul is not on the roster. Again, don't expect him to be back necessarily. So really, it's JTS time.
Right. Yeah, I'd be through the roof if I'm Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, because I don't have to look at anyone in front of me. It's his job to lose, and he's not going to lose it. He's only a second-year player. And again, as you mentioned, you look at his first year, a lot of promise, a lot of potential there. Just he had 4 sacks, and he, as you said, he could have potentially doubled that, and that was still in a limited role. Got some starts here and there when JPP wasn't able to play. But I just think now the importance of him, and like you said, he's working on the little things, but I think the importance of him playing at one position, and he said that's kind of the plan, that's the goal this year, is just to focus on one position. He doesn't care whether it's the right or the left side. That's fine. But just for him to stay at one position and become a great player at that one position, instead of kicking him out, moving him around, and doing all this stuff. They already require a lot from the outside linebackers anyway, whether it's rushing, whether it's dropping back in coverage. So he's got to focus on that enough.
I know. Yeah.
So just stick to that. And I just think, again, the skill set of this guy, the physicality, just his overall look and build.
Yeah.
I just think we're in for like some truly great stuff from Joe Tryon-Shoyinka this year. And it starts with staying on one damn side at one damn position.
I agree. He needs to. I mean, last year he was a jack of all trades, master of none. And I think that he needs to be a master of one this year. He needs to be a left end or a right end. If you want to flip him around occasionally, that's fine, right? Just to give tackles a different look. I'm all about that. But make him the left defensive end. That's where I see him with his length, with his size, going up against the bigger, stronger right tackles that maybe aren't as athletic as the left tackles are, and put Shaq Barrett with his quick first step and his array of pass rush moves out there where he's going to go one-on-one against tackles. If you look back, and I want to say the number was 13 out of his 19 and a half sacks in 2019 came on the right side. Listen, I'd love to see Shaq Barrett just have 13 sacks in a season, right? I mean, so even if he doesn't get to 19 and a half, just put him on the right side, let JTS rush from the left. And the reason why it's so important is when you look at the defensive line play, especially as an edge rusher, you're going to have to get a feel for the player you're going up against, set up some moves, right? Show somebody an outside rush, right? Show somebody a long arm, whether it's not like a speed rush, but more like a bull rush, then do a spin inside. Like that's the chess game of rushing the passer. It's working against one guy and working him over and getting used to what he's doing and how he's attacking you. And then you can counter that with some of your moves. But when you're playing a couple snaps at right, inside at 3-tech, inside at 5-tech, outside on the left side, and you're being moved around the whole game where you're not getting a consistent look at a player, it's difficult. And you go back to how he fared against the Patriots, right? He had a couple sacks in that game. Why? Because he was pretty much playing right outside linebacker in that game. And I think that's what he's capable of. So find a spot for him. Let him develop this year. If you want to kick him inside occasionally, that's fine. But don't make him the guy that splits time evenly between outside and inside, because I don't think he's going to master that.
Yeah, Scott, you've been banging the table longer than anyone else about just keep Shaq on one side. And I think it is so important because Shaq talks a lot about how he has an arsenal of moves and he likes to use different things and set them up. It's almost like a fight, like a boxing match where it might take the first 2 or 3 rounds, you're kind of just feeling out the opponent, getting some jabs in here and there, and wham, that's when you come with the haymaker. That's when Shaq comes with the swim move or the spin move. And obviously it'll be extremely difficult to replicate what he did in 2019. Like almost no one can really do that. But yeah, I'm with you. I still think there's room for improvement with Shaq if he stays on one side, and he's a smart player and he's an athletic player.
Right.
We've seen him, like he had that big interception against the Eagles in the playoff game. Like this guy knows how to read plays and make big plays and obviously use his athleticism. Shaq is better suited to just have that one-on-one battle, knowing I'm playing against the same guy. And okay, well, his strong suit is right here, so let me rip and move inside or whatever the move may be.
Sure.
I think Shaq is way better equated for that.
I agree. And you know what? If on a game-by-game basis, you want to sit there and say, we like the matchup with Shaq going up against this particular right tackle, and we want JTS on the right side going up against this left tackle, and that's how you feel about the matchups, and you feel like that's going to get you wins and sacks, then I'm all for that. But go into that and say, in this game, you're going to be a right outside linebacker, or you're going to be a left outside linebacker, and kind of make that the game plan. But just this back and forth in game, splitting reps, to me, especially for a young player, Jason Pierre-Paul, Shaq Barrett, they've spent enough years in the league where they had that down. But for a first-year player, and now entering a second-year player, and he was a part-time player last year. Now he's going to be a full-time player for the first time. Find a home base, and it sounds like that's the game plan. It sounds like when I asked that question, that was the game plan for JTS this year.
I hope so, and I hope whatever edge rusher they bring in, because, I mean, I love Cam Gill, but I don't think he's going to be the number 4 outside linebacker on this team. Obviously, you have Shaq and JTS and Anthony Nelson, who are a pretty formidable third outside linebacker based on the season that he had last year. But
came on strong, 5 sacks.
Obviously, you need a little bit more depth than that. I hope I want JPP to sign with a team. I want JPP to be playing somewhere. I'm just nervous that he's going to be a late training camp addition. Because he hasn't signed anywhere else.
Yeah, not sure if he can pass the physical right now, to be honest, with that shoulder surgery.
Yeah. So I could just see him, if he signs late, lobbying for some more playing time, which obviously would hurt the growth of Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, versus maybe they draft an edge rusher, not in the first round, but they draft one, or they bring in a veteran guy with the clear sense of he's going to be the backup to Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, and that's when he's only come in. Because I really do think if they both just stick to one side, what they can do is be that dominant pass rush that we saw a couple years ago, where Todd Bowles can then make some adjustments and go, hey, I don't need to blitz everyone every single time. Even though we do that, we don't have to, because we have these two guys on the edge there. That's the best thing we could hope for with Shaq Barrett and Joe Tryon-Shoyinka.
Yep. And listen, Todd Bowles is not the only one doing adjustments. Folks, if you're looking to do some adjusting with your finances, especially in this kind of unstable economic climate that we're in right now, with high inflation and fighting overseas in Ukraine, the folks at Immuni Financial have got it all figured out. So I want you to watch this, and then we'll talk about going to Colorado.
At Immuni Financial, we help you live in the now.
Dude, congratulations. We're so happy for you.
Thank you. And even though the now may feel very different, you still need to plan for the future.
How's retirement treating you?
Oh, just fantastic.
I know I say it all the time, but you really got to come up to Colorado.
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
We can help you develop that plan to keep you on track, so you can still prepare for tomorrow, today. Immuni Financial. Plan ahead, stay ahead.
Man, we got to get to Colorado.
We have to get there.
And listen, the reason why in that commercial the guy was able to get to Colorado, right, is because he's great in retirement. You heard him, right? And you want to be great in retirement too. And that means having enough money, right? Having enough money in the bank, enough money in your investments to feel comfortable, to feel secure, and also to take care of your family, maybe have a legacy in place with some money and some inheritance for your family, and also to be able to travel too, right? That's what everybody wants to do. And the folks at Immuni Financial can help you in all of those areas. Why? Because managing your family's wealth means more to Immuni Financial than simply allocating your assets. It means more than legacy planning, brokerage and advisory services, retirement accounts, college savings accounts for your kids, and insurance. With 40 years of experience, do what I did. Let the folks at Immuni Financial help you plan ahead and stay ahead. Give them a call. Immuni Financial, 1-800-868-6864. That's 1-800-868-6864, or visit immuni.com. Now, we've had some great super chats today. We appreciate everybody for not just joining us, but also for providing us with some income to do things like upgrade our equipment. We've got a big draft show coming up that we're getting prepared for. Matt, you and I were down there at the NFL owners meeting in West Palm Beach. You've been such a traveler for Pewter Report. You're a designated traveler.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. Senior Bowl, NFL scouting combine. That's where the money that we get from the super chats, it goes right back into our production, our travel budget, to provide you all out there in Pewter People land with the best Bucs news and information, entertainment, and analysis you're going to find anywhere. And having said that, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the fact that if you're not set up and you're not equipped to do super chats on YouTube, maybe you're just watching this and you don't have a YouTube account, Well, you can donate to Pewter Report. You can help support your favorite Bucs website. That would be us. By going to pewterreport.com/donation. You can become a monthly donor for as little as $3 a month. Or if you want to give us a hat tip, an internet tip, if you will, you can do that too. Consider this link, pewterreport.com/donation, the internet tip jar. If you like the content on the Pewter Report podcast, if you like my SR's Fat Five, the breaking news stories that Matt and JC and Josh and John do, the Bucs briefing that John's working on that's going to come out tomorrow, our draft coverage, our mock drafts. If you like these stories, this content, we'd love to have you help support us at pewterreport.com. You can make a one-time donation for as little as $10. Please consider donating to pewterreport.com by going to pewterreport.com/donation. Matt, that was a fun show.
Very
and
fun
a fun
show.
day at the Advent Health Training Center today.
It was a great time. Scott, just one last thing I want to say as well, too. Again, thank you to all the fans for your support with the donations and subscribing to our YouTube channel. If you've seen lately, we've been cutting up some more video clips going on our YouTube. And just keep giving us feedback on what you want to see, what you don't want to see. We've seen some great comments about that you're enjoying some of the shorter clips, because I understand, these podcasts go an hour long. Sometimes you just want to get right to it. So please, if you have any suggestions, things you like, things you don't like, feel free to comment, tweet at us, email us, any way you want to get in contact with us, Instagram as well too. Please just let us know, because I have so much fun doing this. But it's for you guys. It's for the fans. Right. We want to give you guys the best coverage of the Bucs that you could possibly find. So if there's things that you really like and that you want to watch more of, we'll implement that. If there's certain things that you think might not be working, we just want to make sure that you guys are having fun, getting informed about the Bucs and enjoying it. And, talking about football is great. So thank you for all of that support. And please just let us know, what you like and what else.
We love talking about Bucs football, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. I'm not going to be here, but Matt, you're going to be on tomorrow?
I can be. Let's rock and roll. Let's do it.
Okay. Well, we're going to have another show Wednesday, 4 o'clock Eastern time, and also Thursday. That's our off-season schedule. If you're just tuning into the Pewter Report podcast for the first time, we go 4 days a week at 4 o'clock Eastern time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And we're going to invite you to be back tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.